From Bravery Media and live this week from HighEdWeb 2022 in Little Rock, Arkansas. This is Thought Feeder. My name is Joel Goodman. With me, as always, is the unsinkable John Steven Stansel.
I cannot be sunk.
He can't.
I refuse to be.
A few people tried, but it's like the Salem witch trials, and we're recording this in October, so it's entirely appropriate. So we may have people filtering through to ask questions. We may not. We don't know what's going to happen, but we are recording this episode live from HighEdWeb in a conference room in the Little Rock Convention Center.
Woo!
And there's a very nice little bit of room reverb in here.
Yeah, last time I was here, the celebrity of choice was Tom Arnold at the Little Rock Comic Con here in the Little Rock Convention Center.
Did you give him a beer?
No. Yeah, no.
Did you meet? Did you?
No. The line was very short, but I was chasing after my son, so did not have time to meet Tom Arnold.
Yeah, he didn't want to meet the 5-year-old kid. Wasn't interested in Tom Arnold.
Did not have any interest in Tom Arnold.
Okay, makes sense. So for this episode, we want to do a mailbag. Depending on if anyone comes in to ask questions while we're recording this, we will talk to them. But if no one does, we will just, I guess, recap HighEdWeb so far or something.
We will make our own. And some of them are quite insightful. So we'll start with one. A listener asked, what is our favorite, most helpful metric to track?
So I'm not going to take this from a social media perspective because that's not what I do.
Right.
And I don't know if I have a favorite metric. I like doing conversion rate optimization. I like tracking conversion rates. And so along those lines, you don't have to say like a conversion is just, someone applies or, someone becomes an actual student. You can set that to an inquiry, or you can set that conversion metric to something that is attainable and something that actually has value in the process of what you're doing. And a conversion isn't just one thing; that it can be multiple things. So I like to look at that. But I think in kind of more simplistic terms, I don't know. Like, I love it when people share their news stories from a website. And
I like vanity metrics because I'm vain.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to see those numbers go higher and higher. That's just my favorite thing ever. But in all seriousness, and it's always a cop-out answer, but like it depends on what your goals are, right? So, if the metrics that you need to track for an admissions office who's, you're trying to get applications or
sure
is going to be very different than the main account or an account selling, not even in higher ed, selling widgets, where you can be very quantifiable and say like, I got conversions based on, people clicked this and bought whatever doodad. So it really varies. I think at the bottom line though, is like, more than anything is engagements. And we'll talk more about this later, I'm sure, and as we talk about the conference. But like what Liz Gross was saying in her presentation about, all of the magic that happens in replies. And, if we are engaging with our followers and we get that engagement, those engagement numbers higher with not so much just higher, but like of a higher quality engagement, like genuine engagement, not just like
not a like or a retweet.
Yeah, or just like replying with a heart emoji.
Right.
There's some sort of genuine connection being made between brand and consumer. I think that's really where it is, and it's hard to measure.
It really is. I mean, you apply that to like a website, and it's like, well, all they're doing is engaging with the website, but are they?
He also asked, what are your favorite trending content formats? I have so many. Like you were talking about just
BeReals, yeah, that's what it is.
BeReals? Or are we talking about like content formats as like as content channels, or are we talking meme formats?
Like audio codecs?
Well, there's so many different. I mean, are we talking GIFs? Are we talking? But
yeah,
for me, I'm just gonna go and say GIFs. I love GIFs. And there's a lot of talk right now. There've been articles written like, is the GIF dying? Our GIFs are cringe because Gen Z doesn't use GIFs, and apparently Gen Z is the only generation we're supposed to care about marketing to now. Like, so whatever. And I don't think that's where we are yet. Like, I think GIFs are an incredible value add for brands. They're easy to make. Kevin just made one of us in like 5 minutes. So you can repurpose content. They get incredible. The numbers that you get from a Giphy account are just off the charts huge.
Yeah.
So who cares if Gen Z isn't using them? Like, millennials, Gen X, and boomers are still doing it, and they have their money spends just as easily.
And there's more of them.
Yeah.
Combined.
And I'm sure everything comes around. Because I remember, like, GIFs were kind of cringe for millennials about 10 years ago. Where it's like, oh, yeah, those things that were on Web 1.0, you put that little under construction GIF. And I was just like, I don't.
The spinning envelope or whatever.
And now it's a whole other format. So everything comes around.
I've been really taken by all the AI generated imagery, and now like we're moving into AI generated video, which is really interesting to me. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's just the thing that I'm most captivated by right now. As we're, I'm been trying to generate some like backgrounds for video stuff I'm doing and things like that, and get some cool results and some really interesting things. But I'm thinking about. I had this thought a couple weeks ago about like, we got a higher ed client and we need a bunch of imagery for their site and they don't have it. And so why don't we just like AI generate a bunch of photos for the website? And I kind of don't know, because you don't have to get photo releases. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not real people, but they look like real people because it's an amalgamation of whatever. And then, placing them in a space is actually pretty easy. You can just use photos of campus that exist.
Wait a second. These aren't real people. I thought we were supposed to be real.
It's fascinating. And like the leaps and bounds that are happening in that whole tech, like the video stuff that's happening now is really interesting. Or even, like you can look at, that's been going on, like it's been going on for a while. Like I've seen demos in like professional filming settings where they'll like film a certain section of a backdrop and then they'll just let AI like fill in the rest of it.
Here's my question about it. And I haven't really dealt much with the AI generated art or video, but I did an experiment not too long ago where I used an AI auto generated text tool. And because all the TikTok social media folks are like, yeah, you got to use copy AI. And I wanted to see what it was about. And at the end of the day, it's impressive what it can do. But the copy that you get, your results are only as good as what you input into the AI.
Yeah.
So there's still got to be some sort of human creativity and skill to generate the result that you want.
Yeah.
And for what I found with like the copy AI, it was really good. But okay, the experiment I had was like writing captions for photos. So I had to basically kind of like do the alt text and describe the photo and like what copy things. And it was actually a lot of work to like writing out a good description that would give me the result I wanted. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of people that are like kind of threatened and naturally like by AI entering the realm of art and creation and creativity.
Oh, totally.
But I think it's going to come down to like, it's just another, it's like when photography started, like, how's this going to replace painters? And like, there's still room for that. So,
yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about because I think like on the one hand, like I'm very, very much, with our discussion about Canva, I'm very much against like the democratizing of design, so to speak, which I don't really feel like what they do democratizes it.
No, it homogenizes it.
Yeah, it's the I
got to get my jab in.
Of it. Yeah. And I think what's different with this is that like it's a real skill to do proper 3D modeling. You can't the photorealism type of stuff that can come out of AI generated imagery is astounding. And most of the human input is the millions and millions of people that have been training this AI over, with their own prompts and with their changes to it and their tweaks and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, you end up, having to write a good prompt, and that's where the work comes. But like, there's no way you'd like with text, like you could have written that, right? It's like, it's supposed to save you some time and like that sort of thing. Like, when it comes down to the imagery type of stuff or the video stuff, it's the stuff you're never going to be able to make on your own. And so like being able to have a program that generates something that was just like an idea in your head is wild. Like, I mean, it's pretty astounding. But to your point, I mean, there's all kinds of ethical issues that come up around that, or at least questions that come up around that I think society has to grapple with a little bit more and try to figure out what to do. And I think that's new tech that's really going to force that conversation into the mainstream. It's a conversation that's been happening in academic circles for decades, even just since like Photoshop editing came around. That, or even before that. This is the precursors to digital manipulation. But this is like fully, it's like all the deep fake type of conversation that happened a few years ago.
Our next question, and this is a hot one that we're going to have some hot takes on. Do you eat cake with a spoon or a fork?
Nick, thanks for your question.
I didn't even know this was a question. Like this was there was a debate around this. But because I mean, fork. Why would you eat cake with
fork.
Anything else?
Definitely a fork.
But after we received this question, my wife brought me a piece of cake with a spoon. And this blew my mind. It's never happened before.
J.S., if you think back, like how often have you unknowingly eaten cake with a spoon because you just weren't paying attention?
No, I would pay
your
attention.
Wife
I would
brought
notice
you.
that. And you know what? It worked fine.
It works.
It did.
Yeah.
It did the job. It did the trick. I'm good either way, as long as the cake is good.
Yeah, that's the hard one.
And now let's take some questions from the audience.
Yes. Hi, sir. What's your question?
Hi, thank you all so much for doing this. I was wondering if you could share some of the insights or maybe your biggest takeaway from the conference so far. And then second question, if you could, with the snap of your fingers like Thanos, get rid of one social media platform, which one would you pick and why? Thank you.
I don't know what my biggest takeaway is yet, except I feel like I'm supposed to be on BeReal.
Yes, but your brand doesn't have to be.
It seems like something that a brand shouldn't be on because it's very hard to find an authentic brand that would make sense on a platform like that.
Yeah, I think it requires some creativity and some workarounds and kind of defeating the true spirit of the app. But that's a whole other question. This person has kindly come up and asked the question in person. We should do it directly. If I could snap my fingers in Thanos style and make any social platform disappear, I mean, who wouldn't say Facebook at this point? Like, I really enjoyed Andrew Castle's presentation on that, of like why he made a case for universities not being on Facebook or Instagram or anything Meta owned, based on the standpoint of a lot of the negativity and bad things that company does. I've personally, I guess this says something about me morally, where I've just accepted the fact all social platforms are evil in some sort of way.
Yep.
But they also pay my mortgage.
Well, I mean, you got to reconcile that these are all corporate-owned money-making entities that are not there to serve the social good. They're there to make money off of it.
Exactly. And we don't want to discount the good that they can do.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of we dwell on the negative stories, and there are many, and they are big, but we don't think about and promote as often the positives that come out, the connections that people make, the groups where people do find, marginalized groups find acceptance and find, like-minded people, fandoms that, can connect in different ways, and friendships that are forged. But yeah, Facebook right now is just a cesspool. Yeah. It's just not a lot of good is coming out of that one.
I would definitely get rid of Facebook.
My biggest takeaway from the conference, I would say I really enjoyed Liz Gross's presentation.
Same.
And I feel like my presentation was just like what Liz said. Ditto with that. But she made a statement about universities using memes. And as somebody who frequently has used memes in the past on other accounts, pretty much use them constantly, not university accounts, but where it was a little bit more fitting. I kind of agree because I feel like universities in general, maybe not the main account, but we see it all the time from smaller accounts, departmental accounts, using the latest trending meme form, not because it's fits the brand or has any sort of purpose, but it's almost like we either need content that day, we don't want to miss out. Oh, this is easy. We'll just slap the Photoshop the mascot in, or Photoshop Bernie Sanders on a park bench on campus, and it doesn't really do anything for anybody. Like, maybe a couple people go, "Aha, that's funny," but it doesn't really move your bottom line. My feeling on it is, in order for a university to post a meme, it has to be so good you cannot not post it. Like, if it's not a home run, don't do it. Just putting the meme in your school colors isn't enough anymore. It used to be like, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, like, oh, okay, they used a meme. Isn't that novel that this university is doing that? And that's just not a thing anymore.
Yep. I think my real, not really a takeaway, but it was something also that Liz said that just kind of like clicked in my head and I thought was so good. There was a question from the audience, I think, and they're asking like, oh, how do I sell this, this approach to engagement to people that just want to see content posted, sort of a thing. And she said, one, come with data and own your expertise. Like, don't ask approval to do the things, just own that expertise that you have. And I think, we've talked about that in a lot of different ways, but I think how she stated that so succinctly was so good. And it really is that. It's that, I tell people a lot of times, I've been moderately successful in the business I run and in the dealings that I have with people because I try to be confident whenever I go into something. Like, even if I'm not confident, I at least try to seem confident. Is like fake it till you make it, or if you act enthusiastic, then you'll be enthusiastic, like my mom used to say. But it's that, it's that thing, like, own the expertise that you have and go that direction.
Yeah, and that comes down to it. I think a lot of times in higher ed, we're like, we don't embrace that expertise. We think, oh, okay, well, I'm just the social media manager. I have to kind of earn this and whatnot. But like, at the end of the day, like, you are hired to be the expert. You are the expert. So you've got to do it.
Oh, another question from the audience.
So if you use HighEdWeb as a data gathering system, what would you say the temperature of the field is like right now? Do you think things are going well? Do you think things are going poorly? What's your vibe? And second question from a friend, why not be on BeReal?
I will measure the vibe and say, man, so many people are moving to other fields, me being one of them. A lot of other people are looking, what was who did the study we talked about recently? Like half of university marketing people are considering leaving within the next year. So I think, we've talked about this before, whether or not we're gauging the attitude at HighEdWeb or not. Like, higher ed has got a crisis that they are facing with staffing. And if they do not address it, I guess it's a good thing AI generated visuals and video are going to become a thing, because your creative team and your marketing team is going to move on to other things.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it's. I mean, I think at this conference in particular, like the overall mood has been good, but I do wonder how much of that is because it's back in person for the first time. It's like, it's kind of like a reunion, sort of thing. I think, like, numbers this year, at least live turnouts, is smaller than it has been. Probably still some COVID stuff. I know there's other issues with schools being able to spend money in the state of Arkansas on something like this. And so, like, it's hard to, I think, really accurately gauge some of those issues. But I think, I hope it's not just people like holding it together and being like, okay, it's pretty good, we're going okay. I hope there's actually still some excitement in it, but I think you're right. There's a lot of people here like have talked about changing roles. I mean, even a lot of the speakers are people that applied before they were now at the agency job that they're at, or or whatever else. There's a lot of transition happening, and I think there's Andrew Castle said it in his talk, given in a different context, but like if higher ed doesn't change, it's gonna die. Like the industry has to adapt, and everyone knows that. And the question is it happening, or is it going to happen? And when and how? And that's the thing that I think is a little bit scarier.
All right, now the real question: be real or be fake?
So I have not started a BeReal account. I've thought about it before. But I also was like, I feel like most of what I post on Instagram is actually fairly real. Like I don't feel like I'm really dressing up most of the stuff.
Well, the real question is, be real for brands. And I say wait for a couple of reasons. One, I really do not think BeReal is enough to sustain itself as a social media platform. It is a feature, not an app. And Instagram and TikTok are already trying to clone it as a feature. So just like stories on Instagram killed Snapchat for the most part, you'll see that with BeReal. Two, for brands, like you can't control when that prompt to be real happens. So like you can't really and you're not really supposed to plan content, but like who wants to see the social media manager's desk at 4:00 in the afternoon? So in order for brands to do it, you have to kind of you can't be real. You've got to be a little fake, right?
Yeah.
You've got to kind of be like, okay, well, when the prompt comes, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to take this picture. And of course, it's going to be a photo of you too, because it's the selfie of whoever takes it. So we've got to have a face or something with that. You can post late, but that's really not the spirit of the app. You can do takeovers and give it to like a student or a faculty member. But again, like you don't know when that prompt's going to come. Do you really care what, your university president is doing at 11 o'clock? Probably sleeping. So I don't. And the argument can be made, well, it doesn't take a lot of prep or work to get started, but you've got to promote it. You got to tell students that it's there. Yeah. You've got to organize and explain and handhold the university president if you're going to do a takeover. Yeah. So it's going to take time away from other platforms that you could be spending more time on and working on, and not giving you that much of a yield.
So what if it was only someone dressed up in the mascot costume?
But again, like that person would have to carry the mascot costume around with them 24/7.
Well, they'd have to wear it all the time.
Yeah.
It sounds like a new full-time role that would have to be.
Yeah, your BeReal influencer.
Yeah.
Which and that's that's antithetical to what BeReal is supposed to be. So I just don't. My verdict is wait and see.
Yeah.
On it, you're not going to get extra. No one's going to enroll in your school because you were the first ones on BeReal. Like they're not going to be like, well, University A has a BeReal, University B doesn't. Yeah. I'm going to go with these guys.
The thing that makes me think about is, I don't know, we've seen this with every platform, every new platform that's come up in the last 10 years. There's always this pushback of, well, the kids don't want to see our brands on there, and then a brand gets on there, and then eventually it just becomes it becomes an advertising platform, because that's what all these things are. They just ultimately are going to be advertising platforms.
Exactly.
And BeReal feels like you were saying, or what it's supposed to be feels like something that is distinctly against that, and doesn't, and even like is structured so that I could imagine that the creators were sitting around in a room or like, we got to make it so that so brands can't be on here and can't be doing this stuff, and like, how do we limit that set?
And it's okay not to be everywhere. Like, it's fine. Yeah. It's like, don't feel like, if you want to try it, great. Like, I'm not going to say like you shouldn't do it. like you can't.
I just love
But,
the
like,
irony of being
yeah.
told when to be real.
Yeah.
Like with an alert. Like
Well, we are running up on 4:00 at our allotted time. So should we wrap up?
yeah, thanks to our listeners.
Thank you for those who came to ask questions. Thank you, HighEdWeb. Thank you for City of Little Rock.
Thank you, Nick Persick on the old Twitter machine for asking us some questions beforehand. Thank you so much for listening to the Thought Vader podcast. If you'd like to rate or review us, we would appreciate it because that gives us better rankings in all kinds of things. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google, on Amazon, on wherever you want to get a podcast. You can find us with the podcast. Please share with your friends if you think it's great. It helps us get the word out. Live once again from Little Rock and in person for the first JS. We haven't recorded this in person. This is the first time ever. So this is nice. Great to see you in the flesh after several years. Yeah, thanks y'all for listening.